one of the things and which I truly believe is cooperation. Cooperation between private sector and public sector, and this is what we hope we are trying to create here in Lithuania. Meaning that we need to understand that in AML area, private sector or public sector or law enforcement agencies, we are not alone. We are not fighting alone all these financial criminals. And the sooner we understand that we can trust, we can cooperate, we can trust, we can share the information faster and etc., then we have a chance to catch criminals faster. I'm not saying that we have a chance to be ahead because it's quite challenging, but at least we have a chance to stay in equal sides and to have possibility to catch them. Yeah, so currently I'm leading Lithuanian Center of Excellence in Anti-Money Laundering. I'm doing that almost 2 years. However, before that, I have experience in private and public sector. So I was working in law enforcement agencies and also I was working in the banking sector. So more or less all my experience are focused to criminal activity, let's say federal investigations, criminal intelligence, and also AML stuff. And the idea came from our central bank, the Lithuanian Central Bank, because at that moment we received the money wall evaluation, and the money wall evaluation, let's say, it wasn't the best, in the best shape. And one of the findings which was told, it was said that, okay, Lithuania are missing, let's say, cooperation between public and private sector. This is one thing. Another thing was said, Lithuania lacks trainings for private sector and also for public sector employees regarding AML thing. And then the idea have born, okay, let's try to move and create a public-private partnership entity or idea in general. And there was discussions how to create. So there one thing was let's try and more or less copy-paste the same thing what Gimlet are doing in UK, for example. However, at that moment, Lithuania decided let's do totally separate and let's try to create separate entity, which will be totally focused on it, the cooperation, public-private partnership, in general enhancement, if you can say like that. And central bank understood that they alone cannot create this public-private partnership. We need partners. So partners, first of all, came from our Ministry of Finance. So Ministry of Finance and Central Bank formed a private public sector, let's say. And then we needed private sector representatives. So here our Lithuanian Banking Association stood up, and in general, let's say banks, the biggest banks, and 8 biggest banks also joined this public-private partnership as a shareholders. And now we have what we have. We have 10 shareholders. So from public sector we have our Lithuanian Central Bank and also Ministry of Finance. And from private sectors we have 8 biggest banks. These 10 entities formed, let's say, supported this idea, moved further, created conception, and the rest is history. Definitely. I mean, we are not the ones who have public-private partnership in general. Like Latvians also, we have a PPP, but a little bit different approach. But from the Lithuanian perspective, the most and probably the biggest advantage when I'm talking and when I'm hearing from other countries comparing, we have budget and we are a totally separate entity, and we have budget focusing only to the public-private partnership, as we can say that. And from this perspective, it allows us, first of all, more freedom to hire really higher level experts and to focus to this. So this is the one thing which is really, let's say, advantage comparing to another thing, another countries and another entities. Without FOU, law enforcement agencies, it wouldn't happen. So law enforcement agencies, our FOU, also joined our PPP, but the join are different, meaning we signed cooperation agreements with them, so they all are part of our working groups. We created together with our partner certification program of AML experts, which I mean we can be really proud. And again, it's due to cooperation between public and private partnerships, because we're taking the students from public and private entities, we're taking the persons who will teach them also from public and private entities, so it's very interesting. Probably right now, and it's not gonna be something new, but I will say definitely sanctions. Sanctions implementation. This was one of the top priority from the side. I mean, after the war started in Ukraine in last year, February, a lot of new sanctions were implemented from European Union, from United States, from other countries, yes, to the Russians. And someone has to follow this, and someone, usually this banks, financial sector, yes, employees. And what it means additional workload to the existing employees, additional alerts and etc. So all this needs to be investigated. However, the amount of the sanctions packages and the listed entities, persons and etc. was completely different what we had 2 years ago. So that was really challenging, and for that we have actually a tactical cooperation group which focuses only to the sanction questions. It helps a lot, because at that group, I mean, at the beginning of the war, we had this group was at least 2 times per week gathering together, sitting, as I'm saying, just near one table and discussing okay, how to understand this new sanction packages requirements, what needs to be done, and etc. The private sector had possibility to ask questions from public sector straightforward and get answers very soon, which again allows to have the same understanding, because this is very important, to have the same understanding of the new sanctions packages and etc. So this is one challenge, definitely. From this challenge, we have another challenge which only just gets bigger and bigger, lack of employees, meaning we in Lithuania, we are a fintech center, a quite big fintech center, the biggest in Europe at this moment. We have a lot of now crypto companies established in Lithuania, and we have quite big banking sector, let's say that. And we also have like Danske Bank and Western Union centers, which also focusing to the AML employees. And for all of them, we all need employees. We all need experienced employees. And this was also challenging, and to find the correct ones. So from employee perspective, it's very good and attractive, because the salaries are raising up and etc. But from employer, it's really challenging to find and to follow that. Two sides, I would say. We have fintech side, this is one thing, and we still have this traditional big banks with the legacy systems and etc. And I had worked in traditional bank, and that bank was merged from 2 banks into one, and I mean in all the Baltic countries, 5 different systems and etc. And it's really challenging from this legacy perspective to make these changes to the new systems, to the new technologies and etc. And it takes time, amazing time. From another angle, we have the fintech sector, which is building from the scratch. Then it's much easier already from the beginning for you to have these new technologies and etc. I know right now with buzzwords like artificial intelligence and etc., it's booming, and I believe it will give a lot of for the AML in general in the future. I hope it's already giving at this moment, but from the biggest bank's perspective, I still see that, sadly to say, that Excel is still a king. It is how it is. Definitely it poses additional threats and etc. It is said like all the new technologies, the first guys who tries these new technologies is criminals. Sadly to say, but it is usually that it is, and it makes sense because for them, either they still continuing to do the criminal activity and they need to adapt the new technologies and etc. Like for example, the same one, deepfake. Yes, deepfake. It's very interesting technology as itself. On another side, it has also disadvantages and also challenges for financial institutions and for all others to identify the customer. The simple thing to identify who is your customer. Yes. And to have a proper QEC, to see his face and etc. And in previous times, I mean, when you're coming physically to the bank and etc., we see you face to face. It's very easy from this perspective, I would say, to identify that you are talking correctly with some person. Like, for example, you're coming here and you're Chris, I understand. However, when we are doing identification online via remote channels, then technology is vital, yes, and as I said, we can have like a deep fake and etc. So I really hope that technology companies are focusing like how to identify such things and how to help financial institutions really to have this identification part. One of the things, and which I truly believe, is cooperation. Cooperation between private sector and public sector, and this is what we hope we are trying to create here in Lithuania. Meaning that we need to understand that in anti-AML area, private sector or public sector or law enforcement agencies, we are not alone. We are not fighting alone all these financial criminals. And the sooner we understand that we can trust, we can cooperate, we can trust, we can share the information faster and etc., then we have a chance to catch criminals faster. I'm not saying that we have a chance to be ahead because it's quite challenging, but at least we have a chance to stay in equal sides and to have possibility to catch them. If we will enhance this cooperation, public-private partnerships, private-private partnerships, public-private partnerships, there's no big difference. In general, we need to have this cooperation, and if we will have it, I strongly believe that we have a chance to fight with criminals in equal tools, let's say that. Criminals definitely will try and already trying to use Web3. And let's take as an example the same Facebook Meta, yes? Meta Web3, and what we already discussed, identification. Right now, you can log in just with your Facebook account. What does it mean? Facebook account you can create without even proper identification, and this goes further and etc. So it will be really challenging to understand with whom you are talking, with whom you have businesses and etc. in this Web3, and it will be used. Again, I'm saying it's still Wild West, the same what we had and still probably have in some extent in the crypto sector, Wild West. and we have it. After that, usually comes regulation. More or less, then you have the rules, because if you have the rules, you know how to play, you know how to use it, and then you can follow it, and probably then it's not so attractive anymore for the criminals to use new technologies. But yeah, I mean, everything, what can be sold, what can be traded, what can be used from this perspective, and if it's something new, it always will be the target for the criminals. Let's take, for example, NFTs. Yes, we had NFTs boom. I would say we had, because I'm pretty sure now it's not so attractive anymore, and it's quite well known, yes, that it also was used for the criminals, because it's very hard to measure the value of a thing as an NFT, and if it's very hard to measure the value, it's very attractive for the criminals to try to launder the money from this perspective. I really hope so, and like I have a dream that people start thinking like that. But not at this moment, definitely, because, as I said, again, probably we still need to have a separation between the fintech sector and the traditional banking sector, because in the traditional banking sector, we still see that human labor, it's still cheaper comparing just to invest to the technologies and etc. As soon as everyone will identify and see that, okay, the technologies, let's invest to the technologies, more to the technology part, instead of just to hire more persons and just to focus to this alert investigation and etc. Then I'm pretty sure, I believe that it will be identified not only as a cost center, but also as a competitive advantages, because your costs, first of all, will decrease, and from a long perspective, I totally believe, and then you will have better information about your customers and etc. Again, and if you will have really good AML measures inside, it's again, you will be highlighted. I hope you will be highlighted from the regulator side, like a good practice and etc. and to move forward. So it's also like a competitive advantage. So in Lithuania we're trying to solve this, and just in the beginning of this month actually we proposed to our Ministry of Interior Affairs how we can change our AML law, local AML law, in order to have the possibility to exchange information regarding private sector. That meaning that this would allow to have possibility to exchange faster information and to stop potential fraudsters even to the opening of a bank account and etc. For that, as I'm saying, we proposed this for the Ministry of Interior Affairs. We had already the working group inside which worked and tried to understand the best practices around the world and etc. So we really hope that these changes of the law will come in the nearest future, either in this spring session or I hope in the latest in autumn session, I really hope. And we will have these changes, we will have this opportunity, and then we need a technology solution, again, which would allow us really to change fast information, like not just to send email to someone and maybe someday someone will open this email and read, but really to have this possibility in this technology solution, just really fast send information, fast receive information, and try to stop and to block. Probably because you can make an impact, first of all, yes, and as I said, my old background more or less is focused to fight the crimes as such in general, and even more to the financial crimes. I strongly believe that if you will have possibility to stop financial flow for the criminals, because almost all crimes are done to gain finance. Yes, even when I was working at one of the banking sector and leading the team, and the team was really doing operational stuff day to day, and I always trying to say, guys, try to understand try to see the bigger picture. What are you doing? You're not just closing alerts and moving, etc., and etc. You're really fighting with financial criminals. You're helping, and if at least one per year your check will be done correctly and you identify really suspicious activity, it's already a success because it's better than zero. Yeah.